Howdy, G-Man here. So, this is a redo of the video I made last night, okay? For a couple reasons. One, I didn't like the video quality. The top of my head was chopped off. I had a cat knock the light out. Two, I have a good homeboy who critiques my stuff for me. And he told me, hey man, I think you went a little overboard on the graphic details. So I'm still gonna keep it 100, but I'm gonna tone down a bit of the descriptiveness, just because I don't want to alienate women or anyone. Anyone can get addicted to opiates. They don't discriminate. They'll sink their teeth in you, whether you're a woman, a man, black, white, straight, gay, rich, poor. It doesn't matter. So, I'm going to be more aware of my audience and still tell you what was up, but not be so descriptive. And third, I filmed the content. The cat knocked the light out, so I paused it. While I was filming the content, I was up in my loft, and when I filmed the last little outro bit, my daughter's show was playing in the background. And I just didn't want anyone to get the impression that I was talking about very mature subject matter in front of my daughter. I don't do that, and I just didn't want to give that impression. Okay, so let's kick this off. Long-term heavy methadone use in men, or you could say opioid induced endocrinopathy is the subject for the day. All right, so we've got the drink. Check. Vape. Check. Decent hair today and nice clothes. Check. In fact, man, this jacket or sweater, the missus got it for me. It's awesome. Awesome, awesome. And she got it at Big Lots, too. My goodness. Who'da thunk it? All right. So, we're going to talk about long-term heavy methadone use and its physical effects on men. Okay? I guess this could apply to any opiate use, but typically it's gonna be mainly affecting people on maintenance treatment because they're not going to have sick days in between. They're going to have it more consistently on the daily. And that's when you really start to notice these effects, okay? So, when I first got on methadone, I'm blessed that it works very well for me with cravings, drug seeking, all of that, right? So, when I first got onto methadone, I didn't really have any issues with dirty UAs or missing days or anything like that. So I gained privileges as quickly as their policy allowed. This is not recommended, but when I got my privileges, I wasn't taking it as seriously as I do now. So at the end of my 2-week period where they would give me, 2 weeks worth of meds, at the end of that 2-week period, I would have 2, 3, 4 days with nothing. Sometimes even longer, but, not that bad. Never more than 4 or 5 days. But those 4 or 5 days really made a big difference, okay? What you'll notice is if you're on if you're on heroin pretty consistently for a prolonged period, like a year plus, when you completely kick, like get over the sickness completely and recover, most men or some men will experience what is called testosterone rebound, okay? Opiates have an effect on the endocrine system that reduces our production of testosterone. Exactly why that is, I'm not sure. I dug around on the net, and there's really not a lot of information on this subject on the internet. That's why I want to make sure I got this video out, That's why I'm redoing it, and it's just important. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first are the noticeable physical symptoms I experienced once I decided to take methadone maintenance treatment more seriously and didn't have sick days or days when I didn't have meds. Okay? I was on a pretty heavy dose during this time. I want to say my dose at that time was anywhere from 140 to 160 milligrams a day. Okay? One of the number one things you're going to notice physical symptoms wise is weight gain. Okay? And it's caused by a few things. One is when you're on methadone, a lot of people say their cravings for sugar or savory foods is elevated, right? So they're eating a lot of sweets and a lot of treats. And another side effect of low testosterone is lethargy. So when you're lethargic and craving sugar and savory foods, obviously weight gain is on the horizon, okay? And that's probably not a big deal to a lot of men, but I've always been the kind of man who would try to work out, try to watch my intake. So gaining that weight actually did have quite a negative effect on my self-esteem. There are easy ways to get around that. Dieting, forcing yourself to exercise, but weight gain, that's number one. All right. Number two, decreased appreciation of music. That probably sounds kind of odd, and no, it's not a physical symptom, but I figured I'd throw it out there just because it's interesting, okay? I've noticed that back when I was abusing my privileges and my take-homes, when I would be withdrawing, music was like something I craved. And, now that my dose is at a more manageable level, music, I'm loving it. This is the first time I've had a smartphone in a few years. So, man, I'm loving the tunes now that I've dropped my dose to a more, in my opinion, reasonable level. All right, next one. And this is where it gets a little graphic, okay? So I'll spare the details as best I can, but I want to get it out to you guys. I want men to know if they're experiencing these symptoms. You're not a freak. It's not unheard of. So yeah. All right. So brace yourselves. The number 3, I suppose, most annoying symptom that I experienced was a reduction in libido, or reduction in sex drive. I was not being intimate with my wife. I had difficulty obtaining and maintaining an erection. I was having to take Viagra, okay, at 28, 29 years old. And just reduction in sex drive and difficulty achieving and maintaining erections, okay? And that's huge for men, right? I mean, that did a big number on my self-esteem, having to go and get a prescription for Viagra and force myself to be intimate. Once I've dropped my dose down to, again, where I think is a more manageable, reasonable amount, the weight loss and the sex drive has all come back, and I no longer need the Viagra, okay? And again, I know that's kind of vulgar and, kind of like, what? It's, in my opinion, that's a big deal for men. I mean, it can really do a number on your self-esteem. And I just want to throw it out there that you can probably solve that issue by reducing your dose as low as you can bear until you notice some of those symptoms subsiding. Okay. All right. So one thing that I did when I started experiencing these symptoms was I went and I had my testosterone levels checked at a local community medical clinic. And the doctor at first, he was telling me, oh, well, I think you're depressed, or I think you may have diabetes, and I think you could have a thyroid condition, perhaps even thyroid cancer. And I told him, well, I'm in my research, and obviously I'm not the doctor, but I think I have low testosterone that's causing this. And I think I have low testosterone because of my methadone. And he kind of scratched his head and said, I don't think that's correct. And obviously, at the time, I was uninsured, raising a family, didn't own a home yet, so money was tight. And I told that doctor, sir, I really don't have the money to get like 6 or 7 tests run on me. So I asked him, I said, which of these things that you think it could be is the most likely, in your opinion, and the most dangerous? And he told me, he said, I want you to try the diabetes test. And I said, okay, well, let's do this. I said, let's check my testosterone levels and we'll do the thyroid diabetes test. And if my testosterone levels are normal, I can drop that and move on and see what else could be wrong. So he liked that. We agreed to it. I got the blood work done. Called me the next morning and he said, hey, there's something is going on. You don't have diabetes, but your testosterone levels were that of like a 70, 80-year-old man. So I don't even know how you're getting up out of bed in the morning. So that was a big one. And what he did for me was he gave me a prescription for injectable testosterone. And when I was using the, supplemental testosterone, a lot of the issues did cure up quite a bit. Not all the way, but it improved. However, I wanted to stay away from that. I did it for 6 months to get me over the hoop while I kind of reduced my dose. But I didn't want to stay on the testosterone because 1, it's just more money. 2, it's just more meds. And 3, sometimes people, when they start using supplemental hormones like testosterone, their body has an even harder time producing its own. And when you're already at a detriment by something else, like methadone, you just don't want to get into that. Also, another reason is you have to inject yourself, right? A lot of opioid users inject. And, having to mess with needles again could be, a big problem. An example is my dad, he's elderly now, but he has very low testosterone levels, and he has to take supplemental testosterone, but he goes into a doctor's office and has it injected simply because he doesn't want to have the needles at home. He doesn't want to have to inject himself. It would be a trigger for him. And hey, that's respectable. Testosterone is not an expensive drug either. But again, my recommendation for any man experiencing these symptoms would be to try reducing your dose as low as you can get it. Okay, so the final symptom of having opioid-induced endocrinopathy or, low T caused by methadone maintenance treatment, high-dose methadone maintenance treatment. I saved this one for last because it's probably the craziest and probably the most unbelievable, okay? I noticed that I was beginning to grow breasts. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm not exaggerating or joking. And I don't want you to think that I had, 44 double D chest, because I didn't. But I noticed that I was getting an enlargement in my pecs, and it wasn't the muscle kind where, your chest will spread apart. I mean, it was obvious, right? And even when I did lose a lot of the belly fat, they remained. And it stayed that way for a while. And I don't recommend you let it get to that point. That's not a good call. I got lucky. My stuff kind of cleared up on its own. But the reason that I redid this video and I wanted to get it out to you guys is because, this is a big deal for men. The symptoms that I told you I was experiencing really did a number on my self-esteem, on my manhood, and those had implications and ramifications on my marriage. It's just, it wasn't pretty. So if you start to notice any of those symptoms, I would definitely get my testosterone levels checked off rip quickly, and definitely talk with your counselor and your provider about what you guys can do to rectify the situation without having to resort to supplemental testosterone, right? You don't want more drugs, more money, more hassle. Let's do it the right way. Well, I shouldn't say that. Let's do it a way that doesn't involve more money, more drugs, more that. If we can just reduce our dose as lower as we can bear it, then let's do that. Of course, don't put your sobriety at risk, though, right? Don't drop too quick over it. But, it's just something you got to talk with your doctor, your clinic about. But I wanted to make sure that any man experiencing these symptoms, I'm going to title this video Opioid Induced Endocrinopathy because there's not a lot of intel about this on the web. Alright guys, I'm G-Man. This is my channel, Reflections of a Junkie. I drop 2 to 3 videos every week. Every third video is a story time. And my other videos are typically serious. I want to help people. If you have any topics you would like covered, drop them down in the comments. If you need to vent, drop it down in the comments. Like, subscribe, dislike, whatever your pleasure. I respond to all comments. Thank you guys for rocking with me. You guys have a happy new year.